Okay, so we are in live now.
Okay.
We will give a few minutes to participant to join.
Okay.
We have 1,600 plus registrations.
Okay.
Shall we start, sir?
Sure, ma'am.
Yes.
Mark.
So very good morning to all the participants, and it is a great pleasure to have you all here for Knowledge 4.0 webinar series, which is one of the unique initiatives of Chennai Institute of Technology under the guidance of our Honorable Chairman, Shri P. Sriram, a successful first-generation entrepreneur, a well-known industrialist, and managing director of MK Group of Companies. Under Knowledge 4.0 series, we have been conducting webinar series such as Technical Webinar Series, Research Webinar Series, Career Guidance Webinar Series, Alumni Webinar Series, and Innovation Webinar Series. And today, we have Technical Webinar Series titled Graduate as an Employable Engineer, which is going to be handled by Mr. Kumar Vembu, founder and CEO, Go Frugal Technologies. And Chennai Institute of Technology was established in the year 2010 by our Honorable Chairman Shri P. Sriram, and now our institute is being ranked within top 10 institutes among private engineering colleges in Tamil Nadu. It is a great pleasure to welcome our Honorable Chairman and request him to share few words to us. Sir?
Good morning. Thank you very much for organizing this today's webinar. And also, Vembu sir, thank you very much for being with us, for spending your time. There are very few people, the entrepreneurial spirit, and Vembu brothers very famous, and Joho, one of the very popular company, and Go Frugal also emerging as one of the product company, especially for meeting small vendors, and really the amazing things they have been doing. And being a first generation entrepreneur in manufacturing sector, I always insist, and I'm expecting youngsters, even faculties also. You name if you outside India, if you take any other country, most of the faculties definitely they are doing their own way of generating money other than their salary, other than funding projects. In India, that is missing, but like industry consultancy project, doing consultancy work for many things. Definitely, I'm sure in the forthcoming years, like SARS presents, many people are inspiring speech and activities and life. It is impacting, definitely inspire many youngsters and the faculty also. In today's webinar, graduate engineers, employable engineers, this has been discussed in various forums again and again, but still long way to go. We need, first of all, the participation and understanding the engineering, that's more important. Especially in country like India, application side, more and more jobs are emerging, if not on technology front. There are plenty of applications, and there are problems available in India. Definitely, if you are learning, and one problem you are taking up right from the beginning of your first year to final year, definitely you can make a good career, not only by getting job, or you can start your own company, or you can go for higher education also. I don't want to take much time. Like all the participants, I also would like to hear from sir. Thank you very much for your presence, sir. Thank you. Now you can start now. Thank you.
So it is a great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker now, Mr. Kumar Vembu, who is an entrepreneur, business strategist and leader with more than 25 years of industrial experience. He has started his career as project associate in Telnet Group, IIT Madras, Chennai for more than a year, and then he played a role of senior software engineer in HCL Hewlett Packard, and he was playing the role of even software engineer in Qualcomm Incorporation. He was the founder and CEO of Wembu Systems. Then he was the president and chief operating officer of AdventNet for more than 6 years. And he is the founder and CEO of Go Frugal Technologies. And now we welcome and hand over the session to Mr. Kumar Wembu, sir. Sir,
Welcome, sir. You can start, sir.
you can start the session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
First of all, I would like to start by thanking you to make me younger by 5 years. So I graduated in the year 90 and completed 30 years of working now. So you made me feel good when you said work for 25 years. Thank you. So good morning all, and thank you for taking your time and joining in this webinar. And I would like to congratulate and thank your chairman for not only starting an engineering college, but introducing many innovative practices in the college, and like graduating engineers as more employable engineers in the current environment. I would like to start by giving a little bit of a context on why this topic, because we all actually read newspaper every once in a while, where some or the other do industry surveys, and they say in India only 8% of engineers who are graduating are employable, or 9% of engineers who are graduating are employable. These are the kind of messages that we keep reading, right? So one thing I have always wondered is there are lots of people who can point out the problem, right? So because this we are not graduating employable engineers is not a problem that is discovered last year. In fact, I can remember when I graduated in 1990, from AC College of Engineering, Karaikudi. I spent the first 6 months, unable to find a job, right? So those days, if a fan or a TV or something, there is a repair of any electrical equipment in the house, right? We used to call the electrician, and my father used to tell the electrician, we have an engineer at home, but he can't even fix the fan, or he can't even fix the TV, right? So, from 90, we know that, our colleges don't graduate employable engineers, right? So, but what have we done to fix it, right? If anything, the percentage of engineers who are graduated, who cannot be employed, is only increasing, and more industry study and more people are only pointing out the problem. So when I was talking to the CIT principal, he was telling me, suggesting me some things where from which I picked up this topic, because maybe this will help all of you as students in the college to know what an employable engineer means and how should you become an employable engineer. So, so in today's maybe talk for the next 30 to 35 minutes, I will focus on how the industry is changing, because the industry, what it was when I graduated in 1990, or what was the industry when I founded Go Frugal in 2004, and what is the industry today, it's very different. So it is very important that we understand where the industry is going, right? And the second thing is how work is changing, right? Because work is also changing, right? How work is changing. And then look at what you have to do if you have to graduate as an employable engineer. So these are the 3 topics I will be covering. Of course, I plan to finish it by 10:45 or so that the next 15 minutes, you have time for some question and answers. Okay. So let me get started by giving you an overview of how industry is changing, right? So if you see, whether it is software or it is automation or anything, right? The degree of automation, or the what people want to be automated, things are going more and more deeper, right? That means, like in every work that is done, right? How can, if 20% of the work was automated 30 years back, and 50% of the work or 40% of the work was automated, 15 years back, today people are going for 90%, 100% automation, right? If you see, driverless car, right? It is not like, cruise control was probably there in the 90s, right? Some automation, right? Or the manual shift to stick shift to automatic car were there in the 90s, right? Now it is driverless, right? The car can drive itself. Then drone delivery, like this, these are all as a consumer what we see, right? But across industries, whichever industry we talk about, there is a, the level of automation is reaching towards 100, right? So it is very important to understand this trend, because this, opens up a lot of opportunity for engineers. The reason is, the moment everything, when you do 20% or 40% automation, one automation machine can be used to solve multiple problems, right? Because you use it where things can be automated, and other areas you do manual work. So there can be one general purpose machine that can automate many things. Whereas when people go for very deep automation, 100% automation, there is a lot of intelligent personalization happening, right? So if I talk about software, maybe 20 years back, people only used to talk about ERP. Today, people talk about, restaurant ERP. People talk about, garment business ERP. People talk about FMCG business ERP, right? Like, as a consumer, we can see this in the medical field, right? We only know about hospitals 20 years back. Whereas today, we have specialty hospitals. We also have super specialty hospital. For example, when I graduated from college, there is nothing like a dental hospital, right? Today, there are dental hospitals everywhere, right? Like that, orthopedic hospitals are there, right? Orthopedic consultant and surgeons used to be in a hospital. Now there are specialized orthopedic hospitals, right? So that is how specialization and super specialization is actually, what we see in medical field is actually, happening across all the kinds of fields, right? So there is an intelligent personalization, whether it is software, whether it is machines, whether it is anything, there is a lot of intelligent personalization happening. And the third and the most important trend is, 30 years back, people only focused on functionality. Can this do the job? And then, people were willing to spend as much time as possible, whatever training is required to actually, learn things, right? To do the work using machines. But today there is an extensive focus, on user experience. So, the user experience is, as important, or, in some cases even more important than the functionality, right? To give an example, where 25 years back, there were a lot of bank computerization happening, right? When the bank computerization happened, or any of the even factories started automating, there was a lot of training program. Every bank officer, every bank clerical staff were actually trained on the system, right? There were, weekly or monthly training program to train people before even, the system was put to use. Whereas if you see today, right, many banks have launched, the net banking and the mobile banking and things like that. Nobody is ever trained on these things, right? We are able to use them ourselves without any training, without asking doubt from anyone, right? So there is an excessive focus on user experience, right? If we don't get the user experience right, we don't get the product right, even if the product can function. So the user experience has become, as important or more important than functionality to win the market. So in summary, if you see the, how the industry is progressing now, we can say, industry is going towards 100% automation, where, the machines or softwares are becoming more and more intelligent. They can self-monitor, they can self-heal, and those things are happening. Then there is a high degree of intelligent personalization and user experience. Whatever missions people do, whether it is coffee maker or computer or software or whatever, the user experience is becoming a very, very important thing to win in the marketplace. So we, understanding these three, key industry trend is very important to understand how, the work is changing, right? So let me now explain, because of these drivers, how our work is changing, right? So, I want to give you an example, because today many businesses, for many reasons, there are, mobile apps getting built, right? So if we look at what it takes to build a mobile app, right? So for example, I started my career building applications for businesses, right? When we were building applications, right? Let's say I worked on a Java project, right? It will be like if there is a 30-member team or 25-member team, there will be 15 people who will know Java, how to write program in Java, and there will be 10 people who can test those Java program, and there will be one project manager. So you can say there will be 3 or 4 skills in the team, right? A developer skill, a QA skill, and a project manager skill. That is how the industry was 25 years back. Today, if we take what it takes to build a mobile app, right? If we analyze that, you can say there are probably 10 or 11 different skills that are required to build a mobile app. When I say 10 or 11 different skills, there are business analysts who are required to understand what is the business requirement. There are user experience engineers, who will do the UX for the product, right? There will be, data model designers who will design the data model. There will be, service developer, or business logic will be developed. There will be front-end developers, right? There will be QA, right? And there will be product marketing. So there are, like 10 or 11 different skills required, minimum, if we want to build a, reasonably good app, which, and, even market it reasonably okay, right? That is how, and each one have to be a specialist. The team, the final outcome from the team, will be as good as how good the 11 members are, 11 specialists are. For example, a team which has a great UX designer, he does a great UX, but the front-end developer or back-end developer is not good, right? The UI will look very good, but when people start using it, the performance could be very slow. The UI can have a lot of errors and things like that, right? Whereas if the UX engineer is very, average, the front-end developer and the back-end developer are great, right? They will do whatever the UX guy gives, the functionality would have come out well, the performance will be good, but the UX will be very average, right? So this means, even to build a mobile app, right? Why I am using the word even is, today building mobile app is becoming a simpler and simpler thing an engineer can do, given given that it is one of the sought after professions for many software engineers, right? But even to build a great mobile app, there are 10 different skills required in a team, and the app will be as good as the weakest person in the team, right? Overall, if you take the app, right? So that is, this gives you an example of how the work is changing. That means, a team, earlier a team means a team is a team of people with the same skill, right? A team of people with the same skills, or a team with 2 or 3 skills. Today, a team is becoming a team of 10 or 15 different cross-functional skills, right? And they all have to collaborate because one person cannot be best in all the 12 or 15 things, right? There is a lot of collaboration required. There is a lot of discussion required. There is a lot of understanding each other required, and to actually get across one's thought or one's ideas, right? There is a lot of empathy in understanding other people's view also required, right? So this is how primarily the industry is changing today, right? So I hope this example gives you an idea of how the industry is changing, right? Now let me come to what do we mean by employable engineers, right? Because as I said in the beginning, this is one thing which is a problem for the last 30 years, where the problem is becoming bigger and bigger problem. If we go by the people who do research and say what percentage of engineers are employable, in India, right? So now, I would like to explain to you what are the employables, who are employable engineers with our own experience. Maybe the chairman and others who run industries can also add their viewpoints in the end. Like when we talk about employability, most of the time people think it is about a skill, right? For example, somebody knows Java very well, or somebody knows a front-end development language like a JavaScript language like React.js or something very well, or they become employable, right? So in my opinion, they can probably get in the door, but they don't become employable, if just by learning a language, right? So I think, in our experience, people who are very successful in the job, who are employable, they actually know how to work in a team. I think where we are losing out, from the time 1990 onwards, I have been working with I have worked with, I can say, every engineers who pass out every year. So where is the deterioration in quality, or where as the younger and younger people are lacking? The first thing I would say is how can people work in a team, right? The reason could be because working in a team requires some give and take, right? Working in a team requires a lot of anticipation, right? Meaning in any company, they can write a job description and give, saying this is your responsibility. In fact, I can explain working in a team with an example from the game of basketball or a football, right? So or even our IPL, right? You take IPL, right? Or you take the life of a cricket player today, right? A successful cricketer, he plays with one team in the IPL. He plays in as part of some other team in the local competitions. He plays as part of some other team in the test matches. He plays as part of some other team in the one-dayers. He plays in some other team, in the T20, right? So a successful cricketer in a year will play in 6 or 7 different teams, and each one of the 6 or 7 teams, his role will be different, right? And what is expected, the dependency of him on the team will be very different, right? So his role is different, and what the team captain expects from him, the team management expects from him, is very different, right? So if you see a successful cricketer, he is able to play in all these 6 teams and switch to different teams very quickly, and play very well and perform very well, and retain the tag of being a successful player, right? So that is what we have to look at, right? Meaning, because today if you see work, right, I can say people used to be part of one team for a long period of time earlier, but now teams are formed very dynamically in companies, right? Like people like if somebody is a great UX designer, at the same time, he may be part of 3 different projects, doing UX for 3 different products. So he may be part of 3 different teams or 2 different teams, building UX for different teams, right? So how do we develop this, working as a team, right? Maybe I will cover a couple of other points and come to this. So the number one thing is, working as a team. In working as a team, what are required are, how socially connected we are, right? For example, I discovered this, about 7 or 8 years back. Some of my daughter's classmates were at home. In the office, I was wondering whether, people spend so much time together. What do they know about each other, right? Because to work in a team, you have to know the strength and weakness of every player, right? So that, the strength of the person is utilized to the maximum in the team, and the weakness of the person is covered up, right? Everybody has a weakness. So that is what is required in the team environment, right? So I asked my my daughter's classmates, I asked one simple question: what is your father? Right? I was surprised that, in 8 out of the 10 of her friends did not know what their father does for a living. Right? This is, 9th standard, 8th standard, 9th standard girls. Right? So then in another occasion, I one of the girls wanted to do engineering, right? And I asked her, what engineering do you want to do? She wanted to do computer science, and her brother is already doing computer science in 3rd year, right? I asked her, what does he, actually, what branch does he do? Also, this girl doesn't know, right? So that is the kind of social connectedness we have, right? So I have seen, why I asked these questions are because I had seen in our office, people go in groups, everybody sits in the same dining table, they all, but they just keep looking at their mobile and they don't talk to each other, but they work in the same team. So if you work in the same team, if you don't know each other, right, you cannot know the strength of the other person, the weakness of the other person. You cannot, the team cannot make the best use of the team members, right? It is not, today's work is not about, labor. That means people tell you what to do. You go and do that and come out, right? Most of the work have to be discovered. Most of the work have to be, understood. You can contribute in improving another person's work. For example, a UX designer's design will improve only if all the other team members ask questions, all the other team members give feedback, all the other team members criticize, suggest, right? If all these are done and there is a passionate discussion on all this, right? Only then a good UX design can be done, right? So the number one thing I will call out when for employable engineer is, how can people work in a team environment, right? So some simple social connectedness tests are, we can ask people a question about, their best friends, family. What does their father do, mother do, and how many siblings they have, what do their siblings do, right? And things like that, and what is the friend's strength, what is he good at, what does he like, right? These things tell us, how socially connected a person is, right? The more, because, we have to understand that whatever is the industry, whatever is the project we do, whatever is the product we do, finally people work together. People can work together very well only if people know each other. Right? People knowing each other is not, what phone he carries, what dress he wears, what movies he likes, what movie star he likes, what songs he listens to alone. Right? It is beyond that. Right? So people have to know what is their social background, what challenges they face, and many things like that, right? The more we know about our team member, the better we can relate to them, and the better we can work as a team, right? the second reason this is important is there is something called psychological safety, right? What psychological safety means is, people all work in a team, right? If, most people, are shy of asking questions or afraid of asking questions, because if their question is a dumb question, they will, they may be laughed at, right? That may be a fear people will have. Psychological safety means within the team environment, everybody feels free to talk their mind, right? Everybody, whatever question people ask, whether it is dumb or smart, right? Nobody is going to be judgmental. The team is going to work, as one team towards the common goal, right? So finally, to highlight this point about whatever clarity there is on the roles and responsibility, things are not going to be, extremely well documented to say you just do this and get out, right? With an example of the football team, right? When all footballers get into the field, right, with all their skills and things like that, right? How exactly the ball will be passed, where people have to be when the ball is passed, those are all not discussed in great detail, right? The player, as he plays, he is focusing on the ball. He is also focusing on where the opponent players are, and he is also focusing on where his players are, right? So he is having that situational awareness to take the ball forward towards the goal and dodge the opponents and pass the ball to his own team member, right? So in fact, being an engineer is a lot less complicated because when the ball is in your hand, you don't have to look at the competition, right? Meaning you don't have to look at what the competitor is doing in that moment, right? You have a lot of time to look at the competition. All you have to do is just to look at what your other team members are doing and whom to collaborate with and when to collaborate with to take this ball towards the goal, right? So I would say being an engineer is, in most occupations is, 10 times or 100 times simpler than being a footballer, right? But we just have to be aware of the environment and we have to pay attention to what our team members are doing and, what their strengths are and, do the best to do the job well, right? Of course, the next thing is the technical expertise or the subject matter expertise. There, one thing is the college education, for some reasons has become like, you study 50 different subjects, during your 4-year tenure, right? I think, the more practical exposure there is, right, and more hands-on skill you get, the better it is, right? I believe that, in all our curriculum, we do the theory paper first and then do the lab. But if we flip that, and do the lab first, right, it may create a curiosity to understand the theory. So if we do the lab first and the theory later, people may learn much better, right? Because, for example, if I use a mobile phone and app and things like that, and then if I learn how, how an app works and how to build an app, I will be able to relate to it because I have used the app, right? So in my opinion, you should all strive to do lab, right? Whatever theory paper you study, can you do some practical thing, projects related to that before even doing the theory paper. So whatever theory paper that is there in the 3rd year, in the 2nd year vacation, can you do a internship or something which is related to a 3rd year subject? Because, I have practically learned that, doing the lab first actually helps in relating to the theory we study, and it creates a better interest in learning the theory, right? If we do that, we will definitely be more highly skilled. Okay. So with this short point, I want to just narrate one of my experiences, because it is a good way to communicate who an employable engineer is and what the industry expects today, right? When I was in the third year of my engineering, I had the good fortune of attending the placement. They call it service commission, right? In Indian Air Force. So there is a SSB, in Mysore. So I spent about 5 days or 6 days in the SSB in Mysore. That is conducted by Indian Air Force, right? So I want to just explain to you what the selection process is, because the industry, whatever is the job, those are the kind of traits we need in people, right? So in the SSB, their selection procedure in the 1989 was like they had a psychometric test, right? The psychometric test is to assess, probably how the person will respond in different situations, right? Maybe the empathy, the values, the natural response of the person, the way the person thinks, right? Doing sort of a psychological profile of the person, right? So that it suits the defense, right? And then, they had the next 3 days, right? There were 3 different rounds. So in our batch, about 35 people were selected at the end of the first day after the psychometric test. So on the second day, this 35 people were split into 3 12-people teams, right? For the 3 different activities. So they have 3 activities. One is a individual physical, assessment activity. Second is a group physical assessment activity. And third is a, group problem solving activity, right? So in the individual physical assessment activity, right? See, this could be physical or mental, depending on the job role, right? So in the individual physical assessment activity, right, we were probably a 10 minutes physical drill where you have to climb up, jump down and catch some rope, and you have to cross to various obstacles, where some obstacles are easy for a tall man and difficult for a short man. Some obstacles are easy for a fat man and difficult for a lean man, right? Like that. So that, individually or people fit enough is part of the individual physical activity. This will be done on a day 2. One team does individual, one team does group physical activity, third team does a group problem solving activity, right? Then the next day, the individual physical activity team goes to the group physical activity, like that. So the next 3 days, all 3 teams does this. And in the group physical activity, for example, I was going in the end helping people do the activities, right? And but there were also people who will reach the finish line first in the group physical activity and calling the other people to do it faster, right? And similarly in the group problem solving, right, whether people have the patience to listen to other people have the attitude to understand the other people, respond, appreciate other people, respond to other people's point, improve on the ideas. So those were all done in the group activity, right? And in the end, there were so there is one person who is the assessor for the group and one person for the activity. So there were about 12 or 13 different people who were assessing everything. They all did one group interview for every candidate. And in the end, 5 people were announced as selected as the pilot officer in the Indian Air Force. So I was one of the 5 people who was selected in 1989, right? But when I look back, why they selected me, it is very simple that, you are able to contribute individually. You behave properly in a group environment where you help the group reach the goal faster, better, right? Rather than, pushing or, pulling the group, right, down. And you contribute to the problem solving in a group setting, right? So today, because many product development or project team are becoming like football team, I really believe, the way the defense recruitment was done in 90s, or late 80s, because 89 is when I attended. I am very sure they would have improved the entire process by leaps and bounds now. But that 89 memory was, that was stuck in my mind. And whatever we do for our own, recruitment and interview, I would say is founded on that experience I had, right? I think, the need for people to be individually skilled, people to be a great team player, people can not only listen to the leader, but also question the leader, give suggestions and ideas to the leader to improve on the idea. Those are all the most wanted today. In fact, one thing I feel is, many of the engineers today, they have to learn to do things more independently also, and work more as part of different teams, right? Very different teams where they contribute ideas and they work towards the common goal and things like that. So the more and more we do this, the better and better employable we get, right? Because in my view, if we really get into a team, physically fit, mentally fit, willing to learn, and with the ability to work as a great team player, right? Any skill can be learned very quickly. It is employability is mainly an attitude, right? All skills can be learned, right? That employability attitude have to be developed is all I would like to say. And with that, I would thank the college management for giving me this opportunity to address you all. Your questions are welcome, and look forward to your questions.
Yes, sir. So, shall I summarize the question, sir, to you?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, one participant has asked, like, many graduates are not coming forward to be an entrepreneur, having the mental fear. What is your suggestion to youngsters?
Yeah, I think, see, this fear is actually a good thing, right? Fear shows that you are very responsible, right? So because, you care about the consequences, right? So fear is a good thing, right? But there are two ways in which fear can be used, right? Fear can paralyze you, right? Because you have fear, you are paralyzed and you don't do anything. Or second is, fear can motivate you, right? So that you do, you actually address your fear and then move forward, right? So fear can motivate you. So how, we respond to fear is more important, because everybody has fear, right? If somebody says, I have no fear, they are bluffing, right? So it is very easy to overcome fear. All you have to do is, what are you afraid of? What is your fear? Right? Can you write it down? What is my fear? Right? Can you ask yourself, why am I having these fears? Right? Can you ask yourself, what can I do to overcome these fears? For example, when I started a company, my fear is that what happens if the company fails? Right? And I'm not employable at all. I don't get a job. What happens? Right? That is the fear. So now the question I asked myself is, okay, how can I overcome the fear? So when I left my job in US in Qualcomm and came back to India to start a company, so my thing is, if there is nothing, I can teach math. I can take math tuition for 10th standard and 12th standard students and make a living. Right? So if the worst is that, I can't, make a living. If that is my worst fear, I can make a living by taking tuition. Right? The moment that thought came to me, right, I had no fear. In fact, the second thing I looked at is, I am so fortunate to have been, to have done an engineering degree from a government college in 1990, right? Probably, I would have finished in the top 1,000 ranks for sure in the 12th standard to get into that college in that year, right? So that means the second thing I thought is, if I am going to, if I am going to be physically fit and mentally fit, and I have the attitude to work, if I cannot find a job anytime, right, then the world is definitely facing a very big problem, right? So, because it is, I know based on my work, based on everything I have done that, I have done above average in the job, right? In many times very well, right? So if I have the physical ability, mental ability, and the attitude to work, I shouldn't be, dying of hunger, right? Because there are so many less fortunate people, right? So these two thinking actually helped me overcome my fear and do things very boldly, right? So you have to really identify, what is, you have to use your fear as a motivator, identify your fear, and find out how you can address the fear, what you have to do in terms of preparation to reduce the risks, right? And then go for it.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Next question. After COVID-19 situation, how the employability may change? And what is your advice to young graduates to equip themselves to get good job?
Yeah, I think, whatever things I was talking about, right? The high degree of personalization, the automate everything kind of a thing, right? And the high focus on user experience, right? These things mean that, there are going to be a lot more jobs for engineers, right? Because, people are looking at things that are sort of made for them. Nobody is willing to compromise on user experience. Nobody is willing to compromise on personalization, right? So, when that is the case, right, you have to act, you have to identify what you love to do, identify or understand your talents, what you are talented in, right? Don't say, just because somebody else is doing something, I also want to do that. Or somebody else, is good at something and they behave or they look certain way and you don't look the same way. Don't decide you are not good at it. Both are very bad, right? Identify your talent, identify your, your specific skills and build on them, right? In my opinion, all kinds of skills, right? Even in a software company today, design skills are more valued than ever, right? When I graduated, design, for example, when in my first job and second job, there is nobody called designer in a software company or a hardware company, in the sense the UX designer or UI designer, right? Or industrial designer. There may be software designer or hardware designer, right? There was no, nobody with industrial design degree or a UI UX usability engineering degree or something, right? Or visual communication degree and all in software companies. Today, in key software teams, these roles are all important. So it is about, when the product you consume have to be personalized, right? Your own job also, has to be your liking, right? Whatever you are good at, whatever you are talented at, right? If you specialize in that and become good at that, definitely there are, jobs for that skill, right? Because, like I can say, many categories of software that exist today did not exist 20 years back. Many categories of, hardware product that exist today did not exist 20 years back, right? There will be so many more new things that will be found in the next 20 years, and you will all be part of that if you identify your interest and talent and develop skills on that.
Yes, sir. So next question, what may be the industrial expectations from graduates to undergo the new digital era and the COVID crisis?
Yeah, I think I covered this only as part of employable engineer. So one is, there are, I would say, there are three important things. One is the agility and learnability, right? Because things keep changing, what people know today may become obsolete in the next 3 years, right? Some new tool have to be learned or some new technologies have to be learned, right? And, that agility and learnability are very, very important aspects companies look at. And second is the teamwork and collaboration, how well they can work in a team environment, right? And how they can contribute, right, with in engaging with the people with cross-functional skills to different aspects of the product, how well they can communicate, right? So that entire collaboration becomes a very important skill, right? And the third one is a commitment, right? I would say the biggest problem for Indian industry, why we struggle to compete with companies abroad and especially developed countries and all, is because somehow the percentage of people who lack in commitment is higher, right? That is why if you see some of the companies go out of India, because the attrition is very high. People join, leave within 1 year, right? People join, leave in 2 years, right? And for any company today, people are the asset, right? That means people, to contribute, people have to stay longer. Even for the person, who works in a company, the depth is more important than breadth. If you spend 1 year each in 5 companies, you may talk about 5 different things in parties, but you cannot have an intelligent, in-depth conversation about one thing with anybody, right? So acquiring depth is the most important thing today. That is when only depth will be valued. That core competence, how deeply we know, that will be valued, and the every graduate have to invest in learning in depth. நம்ம தமிழ்ல சொல்லுவாங்க, ஆழ உழணும். ஆழ உழறது வந்து ரொம்ப இம்பார்ட்டன்ட்.
Yes, sir. So next question. So like due to COVID, we are supposed to do the virtual internships and doing some value-added programs through e-learning. So with those skills acquired, virtually what we are doing, whether it will be added to our credits while placements or while recruitment?
See, actually, I have to be very honest here. In fact, as a company, we from 1995, we have never recruited anybody looking at their certificates, right? From 95. And I would say today, more and more companies are, they are not looking. That, so one is what people know. Second is what someone is skilled at, right? What is valued is what are they skilled at. So I would put more emphasis when they say learning, it is on what have I done, not what have I read, right? So you can read a little less, but do something. So the entire focus has to be, in every department, you can probably give how can people set up a mini lab at their home? What can college do to give each one their personalized lab where they can do some things and get hands-on experience, right? In some of the in electronics or in computer science, this can be easy, right? I don't know how it will be for others, right? But the focus has to be, in fact, if college can come up with something where they can give a personalized lab kit to everybody so that they can do things at home, right? That will become, if people say I have done 3-4 projects myself, right? In fact, I would even ask how many of your students have done a sanitizer dispenser as a pet project during the COVID-19 break, right? So that adds a lot to their experience.
We have 3 projects of sanitizer dispenser from our students alone.
Very good.
One is leg operated one, and 2 are using ultrasonic wave.
Very good, very good. Yeah. So my question is, why only 3? If there are students are so many, right? So and second question I would ask is, was there collaboration between a mechanical engineer, computer science engineer, and electronics engineer, where there was a cross-functional team of engineers, because the other thing you can look at is how can, the department project, the final year project, instead of the project being electrical project or mechanical project or computer science project, how can it be a cross-functional project, cross-discipline, right? So that there is a team with 2 computer science engineer, 2 electronics engineer, 2 mechanical engineer, and 1 electrical engineer. These 7 people, or even 2 civil engineers, these 9 people doing one project, right? So because the world is not, you can say, homogeneous, right? It's not like all computer science engineers work in one project. In real world, it is a cross-functional team. So those are the projects, if we can encourage and do, people have the kit at their home and get skills, right? So in summary, the focus should be not reading more, but doing more, because doing more produces engineers. If I solve one problem, I will actually discover 2 other problems. Whereas if I read, especially, most students will be like me. Everything I read, I understand. Right? Only when I try to practice it, I come to realize how much I don't understand.
I would like to add one point with that. One of the hand sanitizer dispenser project, which is of using ultrasonic wave, is a combination of all the department, computer science, IT, ECE, EEE. So where they had how many number of press has been done, and what time was it more. It's like kind of data analytics also has been done, and what period more number of students have used this sanitizer. And so it's, as you said, it's a combination of all the departments.
Very good, sir. Very, very happy to hear this. Definitely, it will be great if you can, college can work on even productizing it. Right? And my congratulations to the students also. I think it is these things we should promote. So maybe, every student should do at least once a year, one cross-functional project. Right? And every year it has to be different teams.
Yes.
They cannot do it with the same friend they know every year. Right?
Yes, sir. So can we have the last question, sir?
Yeah.
In abroad, like in USA or abroad, and many engineers are losing their job during COVID-19. So what will be the future? How the situation changes for Indian engineering graduates to work in abroad?
See, I don't know why people want to work abroad, right? In fact, my favorite thing is that, engineers are problem solvers. Right? So if you see the world over, maximum number of problems are in India. Right? We are, hugely populous country. Within such a small land, right? And we have for civil engineers there are so many infrastructure problems. We still have electricity shortage, right? Since we are all working from home, at least 2 to 3% of Go Frugal team members are not able to work any given day because there is there is no electricity in some part or the other of the country. Right, we have water and sanitation issues everywhere, right? So that means we are a land of problems today. This is the land of opportunity for engineers. Right? So my own, request is, maybe the faculty and college also have to, promote the problem, challenge people to identify problems in our communities, to identify problems that we have and how we can solve them. What will be the engineering solution to those problems, right? So if we promote that problem solving, people will not only become better engineers, but they will also develop a certain interest in solving some of the problems, and they won't look for going abroad for a job. Right?
Thank you, sir. So we are
Thank you, sir. So I have one question, or I am expecting some suggestion or advice from you. Like nowadays, if you see, the total learning has become digital, and most of our classes are. Sorry, sir. Nowadays, the learning has become totally digital, and most of the classrooms activities are happening in the online platforms like Zoom or Google Meet, all those stuff. So now the students' attention span has become drastically reduced. So, and they are more prone to deviation when there is a classroom, online classes. So what is your advice on that to increase the attention span, or how to rectify that issue?
Sir, we can't hear you, sir.
Sir, your voice is not audible.
I think sir has to disconnect and again connect. Sir?
Sir, can you close the window and reopen it again?
So we received many queries regarding certificate. So all the attendees will be send the e-certificate along with the feedback form to your mail ID.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So see, so the teaching has remained the same, over the last maybe at least 30, 40 years, as I know, maybe more than that, right? So with attention span of people are definitely decreasing. That means that the method of teaching have to change. So I am sure all of you would have seen the Khan Academy, right? Where the Salman Khan model of what he says about the education, right? Where he says flip the classroom. What he says by flip the classroom is you share the video recording of what you teach in the class to the student, so that student come to the class after listening to the video. So the lecture he listens to while coming to the class. So what happens in the class is, problem solving, where the people help each other, all those things, right? So what he says by flip the classroom is, what happens in class have to happen at home. What happens at home as homework have to happen in the class. So his primary reason there is if somebody is a last bencher or somebody doesn't understand the first class, in second class they fall behind, in third class they fall behind even more. Even if they have the intent to do well, they keep falling behind. Whereas if we ask people to listen to the lecture at home, if somebody doesn't understand, they can listen it second time, they can listen to it third time. And in the classroom, when you do problem solving, whoever is struggling to solve the problem, the person who has understood it well, even another student can help him. So if in a class, 60 students are there, 20 students understand the things and solve the problem, then there are actually 21 teachers who can actually help the other 40 students, right? So I think when we do when we digitize our education, where we use the Zoom and Google Hangout and things like that to take classes in the classroom, it is also time to flip the classroom. So how can we actually flip the classroom? How can we not take classes during the lecture? Lectures are recorded and shared, and we do problem solving in the classroom. So basically, the idea is that the teacher becomes a learning facilitator. So she facilitates in making sure most people in the class gets good in the subject. They understand the subject. So I hope I have answered your question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We are happy to have a great session from you, sir, today, and having patience to address all our questions. And definitely you made the session more interesting and informative by sharing your real-time experiences. And with your inputs, we all will identify what is our skill and how to sort the factors impeding their entry to our employment. So on behalf of Chennai Institute of Technology, we thank you for spending your valuable time for us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to all
Have
the
a great day.
participants on behalf of Chennai Institute of Technology. And you can view our website for upcoming webinars and FPPs. Thank you.